Hey everyone, midway through January now, and believe it or not, we've had some lovely winter sun this week. I know from the frost behind, but you probably don't believe me. We did have a frost last night, it got down to -2 here, but I suspect this will all be thawed away by lunchtime, because you can see in the background there, it's starting to thaw away already where the sun's hit. So this week I've been making the most of the nice weather, and it's all been about preparation, so preparing for this area, which is where we're going to grow this season. I got all the matting back down, put extra pallets and crates on top with weights in them. So hopefully if we get any more stormy weather, this all stays down now. What I've been focusing on is the old perennial area, because we need to lift all of the perennials out of there, divide some that need dividing, take cuttings from some to multiply up our stock plants before we plant them into this area here. So I can't do it this morning because it's so frosty, so I'll have to wait till lunchtime, and then I'll get back up in that area and lift some more. This is my perennial area in summertime. What a difference a few months makes. This is what it looks like today. But there's loads of lovely plants in there, and they all need lifting and dividing and moving to our new planting area for the year. So as I work my way along the beds, you can see behind me here, these are beds that I've already done. Yes. I'm now just under halfway across these beds, and everything's gone out of here. I've lifted it out, the things that I wanted to keep, and then I've covered this area with black plastic here. That's because I don't want to be using loads of weed killer to kill off the area. So by blocking out the sunlight, that's going to kill the area. So that's hence all the black plastic behind me there, again with weights on top to keep it down. When I finished over that area there, then all that'll be covered over, and we'll lift all this matting in April, rotivate the ground, and I'm going to put in a seed mix, which will be annual flowers for this year and then perennial wildflowers going forward. So I've never tried a mix like that before with a mix of seeding, so that'll be interesting to see how that works. And hopefully it's going to produce loads of flowers, which the bees and butterflies and all the insects around here are going to love. And we'll have a nice little safe haven for them here, where we're not using any sprays or chemicals or nasties in this field. So I'll show you how I've been lifting, and then we'll go in the tunnel and look at how I'm going to propagate from what I've been lifting. Even though this area looks all dead and depressing at this time of year, this is my scabious farmer. Look at what's going on deep down at the base there. Loads of fresh growth, and this is what it'll look like in a few months' time. Currently, my Achillea palmica looks like this, but in a few months' time, it'll look like this. So that's why it's worth grabbing a spade and getting out into some lovely winter sunshine and lifting these plants, which we've already got, so we can make the most of them in our new planting area this season. Here I'm lifting Nepeta. Dependent on variety, this plant flowers in light blue or soft dusky pink. It's definitely one of my favourite ever perennials as a cut flower, and just as a garden plant generally. Lovely aromatic foliage, and the bees and butterflies love it. And even though it looks a bit hopeless now, that's what it looks like in summertime. This big guy here is an example of one of the totally tangerine clumps. So that guy has been in the ground for 3 years now, and that's how much has developed. I'm going to leave these as massive, great big clumps, so at least I have something lovely and established in the new area over there. I should say, when it comes to storing these lifted plants, what I'm doing is down the side of the polytunnel there, it's quite a nice sheltered area. So I've laid out some landscape fabric, and I'm just actually storing them on there, because as you saw, I was lifting them with a big clump of soil around their roots, and then I'm going to put a viro mesh on top to protect them from any frost. But these plants are really hardy, and they should be absolutely fine between now and when I come to plant them, hopefully mid-March. Just in case you can't see past all that mud, these are some of the GMs that I grow. So the problem with this hard work will be worth it, I promise, because GMs multiply up really easily through cuttings and division. Until the frost had melted off. Get it done before the sun goes down and it gets too cold. And in a matter of seconds, I will see you tomorrow with a cup of tea, ready to create more plants from what we've lifted from the field today. Let's make a start with this Nepeta. Now, last year's growth hangs around on the top of Nepeta and creates quite strong woody stems. but what we're looking for is a fresh green growth coming through, which will produce this year's flowers. I use a kitchen knife for this because it's stronger than a gardening knife, and I slice through the tops of the plant, creating lots of little plants. As you can see there, you want the green growth coming through the top, and you want a bit of root system attached to it as well. That one's really strong, so I'm going to leave that one as it is. Again, this clump here looks like it's going to be difficult for me to slice into, so I think I'm just going to leave that one as one piece. The thing is not to get too greedy. You can always divide it again in a few years to create extra plants. So from that one lump of Nepeta, which has been in the ground for 3 years, I've got 4 strong, healthy plants. Don't worry too much that some are small and some are larger. As long as they've got top growth and a good root system to shoot away from, they'll be absolutely fine. That one's tiny, but I'm not too worried about it. All of these are going to be potted into 9cm pots to a litre, depending on size. Next up, we're going to deal with Salvia caradonna, another plant that the bees absolutely love. This one forms really tight clumps at the base, so it's not so easy to put a spade through and split up in that respect. Therefore, I'm going to pot it into a 3-litre pot with some fresh compost and let it grow on in the polytunnel for a few weeks. Due to the warmer temperatures of moving it into the polytunnel and the increased light that it should get in the next few weeks, it'll start to shoot away from this base here, and it's there that we're going to create basal cuttings. So we'll come back and visit this salvia again in a couple of weeks' time. Now we move on to those lovely big clumps of geum. You can divide geum easily just by slicing through it with a spade in situ to create large clumps, or you can do what I'm doing here, use a knife to create lots and lots of small plants which will all need potting on. What I'm doing here is cutting into the rhizomous top growth of this clump of geum, creating sections of plant growth around about 10 centimetres in length, consisting of a growing tip with leaves and a section of root. It's my opinion that all these plants wouldn't thrive if I put them straight out into the field, so therefore I'm going to pot them on into 9 centimetre pots, look after them and grow them in the polytunnel for the next few months.
So there we go. I'd say that was time well spent. From those 3 clumps that I've covered in this video, we've ended up getting 40 of the little geums all potted up into 9 centimetre pots. We ended up getting 4 of the Nepetas out of 1 clump, and they're in 2 and 3 litre pots. And we've potted up our Salvia caradonna there to grow on in the polytunnel, and in a couple of weeks' time, when it starts to shoot away, we'll be taking basal cuttings from the new growth there, and I'll probably get another 20 to 30 plants off there. So off 3 clumps of perennials, we're going to end up getting about 70 to 80 plants, which I think is pretty good going. So I hope that video has inspired you to go and have a look in your gardens and your friends' gardens and see what clump forming perennials you've got and what you're able to produce from plants that you've already got to multiply them up. If they're growing well in your gardens, it's a good sign that they'll be happy, so why not produce more? If you have found this video interesting and learnt something, then please like and subscribe. See you next time. Bye!